In the Atlanta area, a fake landlord tried to evict a homeowner from a property that they owned. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News.
Sandy Springs' grandmother, Sheila Gibson.
It upsets me just to even talk about it. I feel so violated.
Violated because at any moment she feels she could be kicked out of her Sandy Springs house on Riverside Drive.
Although I'm not affluent, we kind of, did a lot of sacrificing to buy the house.
Real estate records show she's been the owner since 2020. Paying
$480,000. Okay.
She's the owner, yet when the 69-year-old pulled up to her driveway in December 2022, this sign was posted, scheduled to be evicted immediately by the Fulton County Marshal's Department. Magistrate court documents show deputies tried to execute the eviction once before in October too, but they were unable to gain access to the property. She has her faulty gate to thank.
Had it not been for that gate, we could have come home and all of our possessions would have been on the street.
So I have an interesting story for you today. It's coming out of the Atlanta area, and it has to do with a fraudster who was able to file eviction against a homeowner, claiming that, I guess, that the homeowner didn't pay them rent. Okay, so this is somebody who is pretending to be a landlord and then filed eviction papers in the court system against somebody who was, a homeowner. Okay, somebody who lawfully lived in their own home, owned it, had the deed, everything in their name. And this is kind of a crazy story because it sounds like the county was actually going to evict these people from their own home, okay? That's how crazy this story is. It doesn't really make much sense to me, but somehow at least somebody caught it, but it doesn't sound like that the appropriate checks and balances were in place to make sure that this sort of fraud didn't happen. And there's an interesting backstory with the fraud as well, and who the people were, who the fraudsters. Okay, the fraudsters actually have an interesting story of their own as well. So yeah, the whole story, it's kind of crazy. I just thought I'd bring it to you because, I haven't heard of this sort of thing happening before. So obviously, when you're filing eviction against your tenant, you hopefully are either the property manager or the homeowner in the case, right? And I don't know why, in this case, somebody who didn't own the home was able to file an eviction against somebody who did own the home. It's kind of weird. It's a weird story. I'm going to get straight into the details because, it's much easier if they explain it in this article than me sitting here trying to explain it to you. Okay, so before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know what you want to see on this channel, okay? I've been putting a lot of videos together lately, and they haven't been performing that well, and I'm just kind of curious what kind of content you guys want to see, okay? If you want to see more stories about, specific stories about landlords, or if you want to hear more about landlord-tenant laws in specific places, just let me know, okay? I'll find the content, the best stuff for this channel and keep creating videos for you. So anyway, let me get into this article and we'll see what it says. This article is coming from AtlantaNewsFirst.com, and it says, "Fake landlord tries to evict a Metro Atlanta family, police confirm." This family came home to an eviction notice, why police say it's fraud. Yeah, and like I said, this story, it has some interesting twists and turns in it. So let's get into it. A Sandy Springs family was almost kicked out of their own home by a fraudster. Yet another example of how property theft and deed fraud are a prevalent problem across the state, and one which may have stiffer penalties in the future thanks to an Atlanta News First investigation. "I just don't understand how the whole thing can happen," says Sheila Gibson. "It upsets me just to talk about it. I feel so violated." Real estate records show Gibson's family bought the house in 2020 for $480,000. "Although I'm not affluent, we sacrificed a lot to buy the house," she said. Gibson doesn't owe rent to any landlord, according to records. So yeah, basically, this is a homeowner, okay? This is not a person who is renting a home. So imagine you bought your house, you went down to the bank, you got a loan, or you paid cash for it or whatever, right? And you're living in this place, and all of a sudden you come back and there's an eviction notice on your door. Well, that's exactly what happened to these people here. So yeah, this is very suspect. Something is very wrong when that happens. And I'm not talking about the bank is evicting the people after they didn't pay their mortgage payment. No. These people, they're good to go with the bank, okay? So that would be the only group who would possibly be able to evict a homeowner would be the lender, and that's not the case in this story. But when the 69-year-old pulled up to her driveway in December of 2022, a notice was posted on her gate which read in part, "Scheduled to be evicted immediately," by the Fulton County Marshal's Department. Magistrate court documents also show deputies tried to execute the eviction in October of 2022, but were unable to gain access to the property, the deputy noted. Gibson's gate leading up to her house was malfunctioning that day, and had it not been for that gate, we could have come home and all our possessions would have been on the street, she said. So basically, the Fulton County deputy had a full eviction order against these people for the house that they owned. Now, how did that happen? I don't know. But fortunately, they had a gate at the end of their driveway. The people were unable to get through that gate and unable to, basically break into the house. I mean, because they would have had to force entry into the home and then dump all the stuff out of the house, the home that these people own. Could you imagine getting home and just all your crap being on the street? I mean, that would be insane. Absolutely insane. So fortunately, that did not happen to these people, but I'm sure they were wondering what exactly happened. Why is this happening to us at the home that we own, that we're up on our payments on? There's no reason for this to be happening. And it turns out it was a fraud. It was a scam, okay? For nearly a year, a series of Atlanta News First investigations showed how Metro Atlanta homeowners' properties are being taken out from under them without them even knowing it. Entitled Stolen Homes, the ongoing investigation uncovered a pattern of deed thefts leading to a web of real estate fraud. It's a crime that's not as hard as you may think, a crime that often goes unpunished. Under Georgia law, clerks are not allowed to ask for photo IDs when someone files a deed. Atlanta News First Investigates also discovered the lack of oversight into the notaries who are stamping the deeds. This is all happening without homeowners knowing about it until it's too late. Some are told their house no longer belongs to them. Some are told to pay rent to the new owners, and others are being evicted from their own home. So it sounds like Georgia law is kind of messed up, okay? They say that you don't even need an ID when someone files a deed. So someone could file a fraudulent deed with, no ID, and what could happen? Absolutely nothing, okay? Nobody's going to find out until it's too late, until your property's been stolen from under you, okay? So yeah, that's something that they need to work on in the state of Georgia to make sure that their law actually protects homeowners. This is something that I it frustrates me because I'm a strong believer in property rights, and states like Georgia, which are very landlord friendly, you can still fall victim to this sort of fraud and this sort of scheme. And I just want to see property owners protected. That's all I want to see. It's a crisis, Fulton County Clerk Shay Alexander said during a recent community town hall. After these Atlanta News First investigations, Georgia lawmakers approved new measures that take effect next year. That's good. Okay, good thing they immediately started working on it. However, Atlanta News First Investigates has learned a similar separate loophole exists when filing paperwork for evictions. No one has to prove they own the very property for which they're seeking an eviction. And, part of that is understandable if you have a licensed agent who is filing the eviction for you, be it a lawyer, be it a property manager, then that should be, acceptable, right? But, there should be some sort of proof necessary that person is an authorized agent working for the actual property owner, okay? So right now, the way it works is that somebody, like if I wanted to, in the state of Georgia, I could just file eviction against whoever I wanted. And there's no proof put on to me that I even have a right to file an eviction against these people. Like I own the property and they're renting it from me. There's no proof necessary. I can just do it. That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. So, keeping that in mind, I'm going to skip down a little bit in the article because they kind of go into a little bit more detail about this specific case against that happened with these homeowners, where they had came home and found out that, oh, there's an eviction notice, even though, you know, we own this home. So it says here that Gibson eventually got Sandy Springs police involved. Now a criminal case, police have filed the incident as a fraud, swindle, confidence game, according to incident reports. Borf has been charged with perjury, and Borf is the suspect in this crime, right? Filing a false document and forgery, but has not been located or arrested. Gibson's attorney has filed a civil suit against the suspect. The court ruled in her favor after Borf never responded. He has not responded to requests for comment from Atlanta News First Investigates, but he's appealing Gibson's civil court victory. Public records suggest Borf may be living in Fort Pierce, Florida, with a woman named Tabitha Coate. A previous 2009 unrelated civil suit identified the pair as a couple. So it says that Fulton County public documents reveal Tabitha Coate once owned Gibson's Sandy Springs house, and that Borf also previously lived there. According to the documents, the home was foreclosed upon in 2018 and auctioned off after Coate failed to pay the mortgage loan. At the 2018 auction, an LLC bought the home. Records confirm the LLC eventually sold the home to Sheila Gibson. So, okay, let me explain this a little bit more simply, okay? So basically, the people who are committing this fraud, they previously used to live in the house. One of the people is the previous homeowner, okay? And their home was foreclosed upon by the bank back in 2018. So they lost their home to the bank in 2018. And then that home was sold in auction to an LLC. And then eventually it was sold to the homeowners, the people who this scam was committed against, right? So the previous homeowner tried to scam the current homeowner so that I guess they could get ownership of this property back by filing a fake eviction to kick them out. And, you know, so yeah, and I think they filed a fake deed too, but you know, it's absolutely insane thinking that, oh, the previous homeowner felt like they got burned somehow and now they're trying to steal this property back. But remember, the people who own the house now, they aren't like, you know, they had nothing to do with the whole situation you had with this bank, okay? They are victims in this, 100% victims, and you're breaking the law trying to, you know, steal your former home back. You know, this is all ridiculous. This is absolutely insane. So, yeah, it's an interesting story. Man, I don't know, you know, how the laws are so lax and so loose that they allow this sort of fraud to happen.